Let's go, let's go, let's go. Alright, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
My name's Jesse May. I lived life on the edge from the age of 13 till 21, which eventually caused me to have to serve time in federal prison. These stories are from that time, my time in prison, and my life after as I built my business. I don't condone or recommend any of the reckless behavior I took part in during my younger years. But if you'd like to hear the whole story, like and subscribe. Reckless Success. All right, welcome back, Reckless Success. Tonight we got my buddy Robert Dill on. He owns Flat Tail Metalworks in Carterville, Illinois. And I hooked up with Robert. That's actually who done our cage on the jet boat. And Robert, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard, I met Robert whenever I went in to get some work done for our excavating business. And then I heard his story, and it's just another great entrepreneur story of how people get started and they start doing their own thing. So I called him up and asked him if he'd come on. But right now I'm going to entertain him with Well, actually, Robert does your trapper, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Robert does trapping, which made me think of a story. I was thinking of animals, any run-ins with animals. I already told the horse story jumping over the creek. But one time I was by Lick Creek, and we were in a dried creek bed, and I'm cooking. And I heard this noise, and I turned around, and there was a cat that's bigger than a black lab, solid black, and it had like 3 little cubs, and it just walked right across the creek right by me, like, I don't know, 30 feet away. And I'm like, what the hell? And I just sat there real still. And my thought was, because if you're doing what I was doing, there was always anhydrous around, which is like just choke you out. So my thought in my head was, if the cat looks at me, I'm going to spray it with anhydrous. I know people say we don't have black panthers. Another time I'm at the same spot, right down the road just a little bit, and we got out of the truck, and it's a gravel road and it's all woods. So we got out of the truck, we went off the side of the road, and there was one that had been shot. So it was dead on the side of the road. The third experience we had, this is all at the same spot. The third experience we had, some people told me this could have been a bobcat, but it didn't sound like no fucking bobcat to me. But we were on this bluff, and I was cooking. I get back to the road out of the woods, and whenever I get to the road, all of a sudden, right from the area I came from, this something let out a scream that was like, wow, 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 like in the woods. And the guy that I'm with, we look at each other and we're like, what the fuck was that? It sounded like...
Time to go.
Yeah, like it echoed through the woods. And we did. We took off running up the road trying to get the hell away from it. I could have been tripping, I mean, I'd probably been up a long time, but I seen it with my own eyes. I tell people this story and they're like, oh, we don't have black panthers. I seen one. I kind of want to go set up a trail camera. I don't know whose property I was on, but I know where I was at. It'd probably be a good spot to go set up a trail camera, see if I can catch fucking...
Do you remember where it was?
Yeah. Yeah, I always remember everything, all my spots in case I need to. I'm like a fucking squirrel. I hide shit under rocks and stuff just in case time ever comes.
Have you ever gone back to look and see if anything is still there?
Trash? No. Most of the places that I would do things at got busted eventually, and then they would come in. Well, I would say, yeah, most of them that I knew of would get busted, and then they would come in and clean it all up whenever they'd find stuff.
Yeah.
So.
What about money? Did you ever hide money? I always wondered about that, because you were talking about the time you're driving down the road just chucking money and stuff out the window.
Well, I know I hide a lot more money now than I did then.
Maybe don't let her hear that part.
No, I was always real generous. It's funny to say, one of my buddies that also done the same thing I done, he would always have 2 wallets just full of $100 bills. I was always good with just having like $2,000 or $3,000 or even $200 or $300. It didn't matter to me as long as I had enough to feed my habit, because anything I wanted, I could trade. You know what I mean? One time I went to sell a guy like $50,000, and I got to his house and he had this badass Blazer that was all jacked up on like 35s. And when I say badass, it was like a piece of shit 89. But it was jacked up and had tires on it. So I'm like, fuck, I want that. I went in, I'm like, how much you want for that Jeep? or blazer or whatever. And he's like, I don't know, man, like 2,500. And I'm like, I'll give you 16 grams, which to me was like $50. And he's like, yeah. I fucking took off out of there in that Jeep. Wow! I rode the piss out of that Jeep. I don't think I ever got it legal. I was just a hellion. I don't think I ever got it legal. I drove the shit out of it till the transmission. I did get it legal. It had plates on it because the transmission went out on me at Burwoods. Do you remember that?
No,
Are you a native of Carterville?
No. About 15 years now I've been here.
We used to have a spot called Burwoods. I believe the city owned it. I don't know who owned it, but it was strip mine outside of town here that hadn't been reclaimed. So it was just all big hills, and you could take Jeeps out there. It was really fun. And I was out there in that blazer, and it had a big horseshoe trail that would come around, and I got on the very back of it, and the tranny went out. And I just,
Best place for it.
I just left it. Well, it had aluminum rims. I left it like 3 or 4 days later. I go back out with a buddy to get it. It's sitting on the fucking ground. Somebody stole their damn rims so they could go scrap them. So I'm like, the fucking tranny's out. I'm not going to find tires for this piece of shit that I gave basically nothing for.
Yeah. Had your fun with it and left it.
I left it. It wasn't like a month later. The cops are calling. And they're like, hey, because it was registered to me.
Yeah.
They're like, you got to come get this blazer out of here. So there I went. It was weird. I had the key. They took the tires, but nothing else was damaged. So I went and got like 4 old shitty tires. Went out there. My tranny was out. But whenever I went back and started it, I drove it out of there. I don't know what happened there. I guess it sat long enough
Bumped it neutral.
that it worked. Yeah. And then I don't remember what happened from there. I think I just got rid of it real quick. But I could get anything I wanted. So I always, as far as cash goes, like in my court stuff, it would have shown, cash. There wasn't much cash. I mean, I just had enough cash to go eat, and I had enough to do what I wanted.
Right.
But after that, I wasn't too worried about actually selling. I would just go around and do the drugs with people, and
You brought the party with you.
I brought the party with me, and I was just the party. Wherever I was the party. So
yeah, they waited. They're like, Jesse's coming. Party's about to happen.
I thought that helped at first, because I had other buddies that would only sell it, and people would be like, "Damn, they won't get me high or whatever." Well, I was the opposite. I would get them high, and I'd take some money, if they had some. But so I think that helped me on my, making it so long on getting indicted, because everybody got indicted before I did. So I felt like they weren't telling on me. But then it turned out that it was all my good buddies and close associates that sent me down. So
yeah.
But so Panthers, got some Panthers.
I've never seen one.
You never seen one? I think we should go set up a trail camera down there.
I've got
it's
a few.
Like 30 minutes away. I know right where the spot's at.
Yeah.
So in the same area where I saw those black panthers, though, while I was just in that area, well, I got a couple stories, but one time I would just go down there, and if I'm driving and I'm by myself, then it's like, damn, I got to hide my truck. So I'm going down this road, and there's like far and few between houses, and I see this trailer. I don't know why I was always so stupid and doing shit like this, but the trailer, it had a little gate. And it just looked like nobody had been there in a long time. Like it was a summer stop-in place, I took the gate down. I pulled behind the trailer. I went out and done my thing. And when I came back, that guy was there. This has happened to me a few times. And that guy was at that trailer. And I came up with some bullshit story about looking for fucking mushrooms. And he believed me. He was like, oh, yeah, man, just go down here. Well, I also had some family in the area. So I'd always be like, oh yeah, I'm so-and-so's grandson, and I told him the mushroom story, and he let me go. But I knew where there was because I was always hitting like abandoned houses. I'd go to abandoned houses, or like people don't live there, and I'd do it out in the woods behind their house or something like that. I don't know. And this one time I find a bass boat, a Porsche, and a side-by-side, all at this abandoned house, like at this right behind this garage. I'm like going, and I'm like, damn, that looks like a big fiberglass boat. I look under it. It is. Well, I tell this guy that I know about it, but I don't realize this guy's got like a normal job. He's a normal guy. I don't know why I told him, but he had probably just started doing drugs. He's still holding it together, you know, still got a family life. And I told him about all this shit. And it wasn't like 3 days later, I went to his house. All that shit's sitting there. And I'm like, what'd you go take all this shit? And he's like, fuck yeah, I went and took it. And I was like, dude, that's my spot. Now it's hot. You know, you just ruined that whole area for me. And yeah, some bitch went and stole it. Just a normal old guy that I would never think, you know. And he had the Porsche, he had the side-by-side and the bass boat. And then he's dead now too, so I'll talk about him. A lot of these guys are dead. He was kind of like a mechanic that we knew. So we'd take our broken shit to him, but he was like my family's friend, kind of, and then he got into drugs and started going downhill. So I took this guy, the one that stole all the shit, I took him my truck one time to weld on. Well, I needed some liquid fire, which is used it's a precursor for making drugs. Mm-hmm. So, but it's also like the plumbing shit you pour down the drain, right? So I call my buddy, and I'm like, let me get this liquid fire. And he puts it in a glass jar because it'll eat through plastic. But it wasn't glass. It just looked like a glass jar. It was a plastic jar. It looked like glass. And I put it in my truck. So I go to this family friend guy's house to get some hitch welded on, right? I go inside while he's welding on the hitch. And he comes in. He's like wiping his hands. And he's like, I spilled something in your truck. And I was like, something in my truck? And I go out because I'm thinking, what did he spill? He's been wiping it up. He's like, I'm trying to clean it up. And I looked, and it was that liquid fire ate through that plastic jar, went in the carpet. The carpet's smoking. And I look at this guy's hands, and he's got the shit all over his hands. He's wiping it with a napkin. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, hey, bud, I'm panicking because I know his hands are about to blister. It's going to eat the shit out of his hands. And I'm like, bud, you might want to wash your hands, or I didn't know what to do, you know, but I don't know if you put water on wash
with, yeah.
But God, yeah. So I kind of got him back for stealing the shit from my spot by burning his hands up. But
what happened to his hands?
They blistered up pretty good. Like his hands did blister up from it, but I mean, we had meth, so it didn't matter. We had blisters all over the place. More about that guy. I guess I'll just finish up with talking about that guy today because that guy was a wild guy, and he was kind of a family friend. So I meet this girl, and this is a weird kind of story. I meet this girl, and she lives with her boyfriend's parents. Her boyfriend's died. He's dead. He got in a car wreck. She's like 21. She lives with his parents, her ex that's dead, and they all get on drugs. The mom ends up getting on drugs, but the dad doesn't know. So the girl, her boyfriend's mom gets on the drugs. Nice house, nice family. And the dad doesn't know. Church going people. And I'm supplying these people. So I would go supply the girl. And then the mom and the girl didn't know they were both doing it. And I would leave and I would go down the road and I would turn and I'd go by their shop and meet the mom. So while I'm there, I know it was fucking messed up scenario. While I'm there, I see these dogs. They got like a fucking puppy farm where they're mistreating these dogs like crazy. Like there's this little, what was he? A Yorkie, little like teacup Yorkie.
Yeah.
A little boy. And he had mange so bad and like bugs all over him and shit. And I seen him in this pen. So I'm like, fuck, I'm an animal lover, you know, I can't handle that. So I told the girl I would give her like 2 grams or $200 if she got me that dog. So she gets me the dog. I remember I take the dog to my mom's. My mom's an animal lover, you know, she nurses this dog back to health. It took like 2 months. The dog stunk so bad. It's in a crate, like hair mange together. We get him all fixed up, Cody. And on this day, this guy come over early in the morning. So on this day, this dude comes to my house and he's scoping it out. So now I've stolen the dog from the mom, fixed the dog up. Now the mom's caught wind that I've got the dog. She gave the guy, the family friend, a couple oxys, and he broke into my parents' house, stole that dog back. It was a big fucking story. So they get the dog back. He takes the dog, gives it back to the mom. So now the girl's moved out of the mom's house. She's not there, but she's still got a key. So I, again, tell the girl, I find out what happened, that he took the dog. I mean, I was tore up about it. I wanted my fucking dog back. And so I tell the girl I'm going to give her like $200 to go get the dog back again. She, she's still got a key. So she goes over there one Sunday morning. She's got like camo on. She uses the key to get in. They must have known she was coming. The husband's sitting there with a gun. She walks in to steal the dog back, and the husband holds her at gunpoint, and she gets arrested for breaking and entering. I remember.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It was crazy. I never got the dog back either. Son of a bitches. But the day the dog got stolen from my parents, Lisa had set me up to go riding with these guys I don't know. So I go meet these guys, and it's one of Lisa's friends and me and a bunch of guys, and they got four-wheelers, and they all fucking suck. I'm ripping wheelies. I'm using them as berms going through the corners. They ain't got shit. One guy's like, I want to race you. He had like a 450R Honda. I was on the Raptor. And we took off racing. About fourth gear, I'm just toying with him in a wheelie, and just fucking leave him. And then he's, I was slipping and spinning. Everybody had stupid-ass excuses. I don't know what it was about my Raptor, but it was tuned up. It was hot. But I'm riding with these guys, and this kid, this is weird. So Lisa's friend's dating one of these guys, kind of. His friend takes his truck with me and Lisa's friend. And while we all three leave, Lisa's friend is kind of hitting on her boyfriend's friend. They're kind of talking about hooking up or whatever. So while they're fucking talking about it, we've already been drinking and stuff. I'm drinking with these people. How did I get there? I rode my four-wheeler to Pittsburgh, I think, because I remember I rode it back that night. So we're in this truck, and Lisa's friend and this guy are like kissing and shit and fooling around. And we come over this hill, and I'm in the passenger seat, and I'm sitting there, and we're going to get more beer. And we come over a hill, and there's a stop sign, and a truck stopped. And in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, we're going to start sliding. If you don't get on the brakes, we're going to start sliding. We got that point. He hit the brakes, an old Ford truck, like an old Ford F-150. Front tires locked up. Oh, bam! We smashed into this. We got cans everywhere. We smashed in the back of this car, and the dude takes off. And I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, it's a party now, It was like a Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning or so. Or probably not a Sunday. Probably Saturday at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And he takes off running. And the truck chases us. Now we're in this high-speed chase. I'm with these guys I don't know. I got Lisa's friend cheating on her boyfriend. And we get away. We went and got the liquor. We go back. That's when I find out my mom calls while I'm in Pittsburgh, says the dog got stolen. And I rode my four-wheeler back through Marion. I remember going through Marion, and I remember going through Craneville, and I got a little chase in Craneville and got home. And that's when I probably called Lisa crying, saying my dog got... Do you remember that, Lisa?
Yeah.
Cody?
I remember Cody.
Yeah. Bitch stole my dog. So there's that story. That's enough wild times for tonight. But let's talk a little bit about business and about you.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, you kind of told me how you got started into things. I think that's a cool story to share if you don't mind.
It's crazy. It's a whirlwind a little bit. I worked for this guy, and he had a piece of property in Illinois, and he lived in Tennessee, and he'd come up, and I managed it for deer hunting and all this different stuff.
Right.
And he says, hey, I'm selling the farm. We're moving to Tennessee. We ain't moving to Tennessee. I'm settled here in Illinois now. Everything's
so your employer's
good.
Packing up and going, but he's offering to take you.
Yeah. And I couldn't make the move. I couldn't make the jump. Little do I know, COVID's coming. He's like, hey, I get it, whatever. Here's a month's worth of severance pay. Good luck getting back, good luck getting your business. Because I did home remodeling and different stuff at the time. And so I'm like, well, crap, I'm going to start calling people, see if I can't, do a bathroom remodel or siding or whatever, And no one's got anything. I'm stressing.
Right. COVID hits.
Yeah.
Really stressing.
Well, I'd always done welding stuff for myself. I was always building something, tinkering, whatever. Right. My buddies always saw it. And then the stuff I built for this guy, it was crazy. He had goofy money. I
seen you built like a dock, or I don't know what it was, but it's like a walkway.
A walkway into a swamp.
Yeah.
572 feet long.
500-foot walkway across the swamp. Yeah. And you did that by yourself?
All by myself.
I've seen some videos of it. It looks straight and clean and good. It looked nice.
It's straight as an arrow, and it's well, it was level as could be.
500, how many feet?
572 feet long.
Almost 2 football fields through a swamp.
Every 8 foot was 2 4x4 posts. I drove into the swamp with I started with an 8-pound sledge. I broke the hammer, broke the head off it.
Right.
So I went to a 12-pound, and I was ripped there for a while. I mean, it was all womanized wood, so it's all heavy as could be.
How would you get out to it?
Well,
Tricks.
So I had a buddy. That was a manager at a department store. You know, I said, "Hey, I need one of them flat carts to move some material." And he's like, "What are you building?" I shoot him a picture, and he's like, "Come by tonight. You know, we'll load one in the back of the truck." So I could load. I loaded what would take to build 16 foot on it, because if not, it was so heavy, you know.
And then pushed it 500 foot.
Well, each time I would advance 16 foot each time, build a section, and I could build about 64 foot, I think it was, a day.
Damn.
I was humping.
You were moving.
Oh yeah, I used to get going, you know.
That's a lot.
And
especially in a swamp.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I started out in knee boots, and then I went to hip boots, and then for the longest time I was in full waders with pouches on, and there was a lot of times you reached into your pouches to grab screws, and it was underwater.
My grandpa, when he owned May Excavating, they built the walkway through, I think it's Cache River. Do you know? Cypress? It's down in Cypress, but it's similar.
Yeah.
And he would go out there and track in a traco. Oh. And it's like up over the tracks, and it's a swamp, but it wasn't sinking or nothing. But everybody thought he was crazy, like, "What are you doing, bro?"
So I'm not afraid to take on a task, you know.
So you were doing all that for somebody else, probably not charging near what it was worth, but I mean, you were working for him, so it's fair.
Well, at the time, I was just working. You know, he asked what I did. I was trapping beavers for him.
Right.
And because it was out in the swamp.
Spent a lot of time trapping beavers myself.
It's a good time. Which comes back to the business of flat tail. So I was, like I said, just doing all the trapping. And he asked, "What kind of work do you do?" And I told him construction. So yeah, at the time I wasn't working for the dude. And we just started, you know, building stuff. And then he gave me, you know, he's like, "Hey, let's blow some of the beaver dams up." So we went and bought tannerite.
Blow some beaver dams
up.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah, because I knew the swamp because I trapped it. So I knew all the ins and outs of the place, and he's like, "Hey, I'm making a bunch of tannerite, and we're going to blow these dams up."
That sounds like a fun job to have.
It was fun. Yeah. So we took PVC pipe and filled it with tannerite, and we take a rock bar and stick it down in the dam and open it up.
Right.
And shove it down and leave a little bit showing. So when you shot it, it blew up from the bottom out. And
right. Beavers are interesting. They're interesting, and they can be hard to kill.
Yeah.
They'll go down and get in there. Like if you shoot, you know, I don't know if you can't even shoot them. I know all my beaver stuff from watching Alone. Oh, and some of them try to get beavers and trap, and they're always having a hard time. I can't remember what they shoot them with. I think an arrow.
Yeah, that one guy did. Yeah.
But he'll like shoot it, and the damn thing goes into its den, and then he's fuck.
And then they gotta dig it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I like watching. We had beavers at a pond we had, and I liked watching them do their thing. I mean, they fuck stuff up.
They're cool until they start ringing trees, and they're like, "Hey, well, the big golf course over here in Marion, I did some trapping for them." But you know, they're like, "Yeah, it was fun watching them," and he's ringing all my trees and killing everything. Right. So then they're like, "They got to go."
I like watching the videos of them working. Like somehow somebody sets up a camera and it shows, and this thing's just sitting there shaving off chunks of tree. How their jaw and their teeth are that strong?
I don't know.
That they can just sit there and shave hardwood.
Yeah, like an oak.
Yeah.
I mean, you sit there with an axe and chop it,
it'll dull your axe.
It'd wear you out.
Yeah, definitely wear you out. But I like watching them run away. Like the tree starts to fall. Oh, you see them go back into the water real quick. They're not dumb. But some of them do die. Oh yeah. Whenever they're cutting them down. When it kicks off, it'll fall on them. Yeah. I've not trapped. My son likes to trap. If I told him all about you, he'd probably go, drive you nuts.
We can go right across the road. He's already called me, wanting me to be over there. Oh yeah, they're flooding into the fields.
Yeah, he's into it. He'll go on his 4-wheeler and he just goes out trapping. He traps here, but I never really learned much about it. I remember my dad and them, they would always like boil walnuts.
Yep.
Or what are they? Black? Walnuts.
You're dyeing the trap. Basically,
Okay.
you're like rust preservative with steel.
Yeah, I think it was just a reason for them to all party and have a good time because they'd be like, "Oh, we gotta go boil the traps." And I remember a lot of beer drinking and late nights. So
Another gathering.
yeah, I mean, at least they got together and done stuff.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but no, I worked for did all this work for him, and then. Well, I mean, I could go on with the different stuff he wanted me to build, but he was a drinker. He would show up, hang out, drink, and tear stuff up. So then it was like, anyways, we're blowing dams out. I'm like, man, we just need a mini excavator, and we dig it out. And he's like, you run with them? I said, yeah, I can run that, So next weekend, he's like, hey, come over here and help me unload this thing.
This guy sounds like my type of guy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's got tannerite, drinks, buying mini excavators.
We had fun. We traveled around. I mean, like I said, I go on with different things we did.
Right.
And then he was like, you know what? I got so much to do. I got all these properties. Just come work for me. So I went and worked for the dude. And like I said, he would drink. He'd tear up stuff. He'd jackknife the planter and bend the hitch all up. And they hodgepodge something together from one of the farmers. And I'm like, why don't we fix that right? So then he's like, well, I don't know who to do it. I'm like, well, I'll do it. So I'd take it off and fix that. And then it was like, well, I want to do this. And then we went out to a Kansas farm he had, and I did trapping for him for coyotes for the deer. And we filled the feeders, and the feeders were just goofy, the design. I'm like, why don't we build them better? He's like, well, can you build them? I'm like, that ain't nothing. He's like, well, I want it like this, I want it like that. Easy. I want to keep the coons out. I'm like, all right. So on the way home, because he had me drive out there, pick him up at the airport, and then had to drive back, so he only had to fly. Right. But so anyways, I'd build stuff for him.
How did he have so much money? What did he do?
He's a developer down in Tennessee. Big properties and all that stuff. And then and that's how we kind of got the name, the flat tail part, is it got to be where he didn't ask me what he was like, can we build this? Can we build that? I said, I can build damn near anything. Whatever do you want?
Yeah.
So then we end up starting this business. Now we're trying to make ends meet because COVID hits. All my buddies need stuff built.
You and this guy are starting the business?
No.
Or you are?
So, that's how the name come about.
Okay.
So all my buddies saw the stuff I was fixing and building for this guy, including the truck that we can talk about too if you want.
Right. But, yeah, we love talking about trucks. What kind of truck do you have?
So he didn't do what I said. I said we need a 3/4 ton or 1 ton for the suspension. He shows up. He's like, I couldn't pass it up. He brought me this 1/2-ton truck.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. And
right, gasser.
It was gas. Yeah. Well, so the guy, he loved to deer hunt, and he loved high fences. And I say high fence, and a lot of people think, small properties. Well, this place in Mexico, the one property was 14,600 acres. The other one was 13,400, 300. Huge high fence areas. Big time managed.
Right.
You could go, 200-inch deer.
Right.
Anyways.
We've got one here.
I got one on the wall now.
What's that one down in Vienna? East of Vienna.
Sanford's Ridge and Sanford Whitetail Mountain.
I drove by there one day and looked over. I don't know what the hell I seen. It was a elk or
they got elk and
whatever the
zebra.
Fuck it was. It was a massive deer with a big ass rack, and it was just sitting there, big old tall, like 8-foot fence.
Yeah,
he's just waiting to get shot.
Yeah, someone just coming to buy it.
That's crazy. I guess so. Whatever. Yeah. As long as they eat it. Then it's all good.
I don't think they do because those are all juiced up, I think.
Yeah.
So, but so he gets into this high fence thing, and he gets buddies with this ranch guy, and the one ranch isn't quite ready for hunters, but there's still good deer on it. So he says, let me lease that. So they work out an agreement, and he says, I want a truck for down here. So he calls me. He's like, hey, start looking for this high rack top drive truck. I'm like, what are you talking about? He starts explaining it to me. He's like, it's like a safari truck, but you can drive from the top. Yeah. Damn. So I'm like, all right. So I'm calling all these places down in Texas. Everyone can't get it in that time frame. Can't get it in that time frame.
Build that bitch.
So he's like, think you can build it? I'm like, well, I know I can. I just need money and time. He said, money ain't an issue. Time is. On top of planting and fixing all the stuff he tears up and all the stuff that has to be done on the farm.
Right.
So he brings me a truck and he says, start ordering material, figure out what you need. So I start building this dream of his, basically.
Right.
And basically what it is there's a platform above the truck because down in Mexico, the mesquite is only so tall.
Right.
So we built this platform on this truck. Yeah, so he wants to be able to drive around, shoot deer, and just overlook the
Is that
property.
legal?
Dude,
I mean, I guess if you got
Hey, we had some fun on that truck.
yeah, if you got 13,000 acres, anything's legal. Who the hell's coming out there, right?
So, yeah, he tells me, he's like, get after it. I'm like, okay. So I start designing and building. I'm like, what about this? What about that? I love it. Do this. And then he was like, well, let's cut the bed down. I'm like, let's sell the bed and build a flatbed. So we build a flatbed, and I build this platform. And he's like, well, and like, so I mean, literally, you drive from the top.
What could you still drive from the normal cab?
So I get the truck built. We load it on a low boy.
You got pictures?
Yeah, oh yeah. I sent her some pictures of it.
We'll pop a picture up because I got to see what this thing looks like.
It's crazy.
Is it?
It really is. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Right.
So I build this truck, and of course, it's got to have this, got to have that. I mean, I put airbags on it because it's a half ton, so we got to do this airbag system on it. And then I'm like, well, if we got a compressor,
We
so
got
I built a bench seat. I'm like, well, now we'll have leads to plug in for air.
Right.
He's like, well, I want a bumper, big badass bumper. I can just blast through mesquite if I want. If I'm chasing a deer, I can just go through. Like,
right.
Okay. He's like, I want good step bars. I want this. I want that. Okay.
Keep going.
We just keep building. I want a handrail. I'm like, crap. Okay. And then he's like, but we got to be able to drive it from the top. Okay. Now we got to figure this one out.
Right.
So then it's like how much should we got to drive? He's like, shifter, throttle,
damn,
brakes,
couldn't
steering.
Did he get an automatic at least?
Oh yeah.
Right. You're up there like, you're throwing that shifter 4 feet.
So I'm Googling these things, these pictures and everything, and they have these hodgepodge deals that there's a rod that runs through the cab and you're driving. Right. I'm like, we're not doing that.
Right. We're just using your ideas.
Yeah. So I'm like, we'll get an orbital valve and then we'll run the power steering up there. Well, that was a feat in itself. Mm-hmm. But come to find out, a rack and pinion steering, that's a cylinder like on a machine.
Right.
So I plumbed into that. I found these 3 solenoids. So you drive from the bottom like normal. You get up, climb the ladder. You get up on the platform. You flip a switch, and it sends the power steering from the bottom up to the top. Now, the orbital valve on a tractor, 2 lines in, 2 lines out. You just drive from up top.
Fuck no, I don't know what an orbital valve.
Oh, you really?
I thought you said canuter valve there for a second. When you said that, I replaced it in my head with canuter valve. I was like, oh, canuter valve.
Yeah, so I get the steering thing figured out.
Was it hydraulic steering?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of truck was it?
It was a Ford F-150.
And then you changed it to like the rear wheel steer?
No, the front steer.
Okay.
So then the brakes, what I did with the brakes is I got just sort of, because I used to race back in the day, so I was always fiddling and building stuff and this and that. I'm like, well, I'll get a racing brake pedal. And I mount it to the floor. And then I'm like, well, I'll just cap off the rear brakes. We'll leave the front brakes for driving from the bottom because you want good brakes. So the way it's designed, it noses forward.
Right.
I'm going to hook the top brakes to the back, so you have that skidding stop, so you don't nose over.
Right. My luck, I'd be up top driving and hit the brakes and just roll over forward, high.
But so we do that, and then I end up making a cable system come down to the brake or the gas setup, and it was on a handle, almost like a boat. You just give it gas and you let off. And then I was like, well, now we got to figure out the shifting. So I bought a great big, 10 or 13 foot long shifter cable deal.
Right.
And you park, reverse, neutral, drive. And you just get up there. Like I said, you climb up, flip a switch, and you just drove.
Steering wheel, or how was the
steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so.
I'd be trying to go through like drive-throughs and pull up to the window and be like, we'd be way up on the top.
Well,
be like, up here, ma'am.
So I get this truck done. He's like, is it ready? I'm like, I hope. I get the truck done on like a Tuesday night. We're loading the truck Wednesday. There's like very minimal test driving to this whole truck.
Right.
And
it's Texas.
Rhino lined from front to back, top to bottom, everything on wrap, a fabric wrap all the way around to keep the wind off you, keep the movement down. I've got aluminum awning thing that he's like, well, I want a deal to keep the sun off you. It gets hot down there. All right. Well, we can only have so much head height if we ship it. I'm like, I got it. So I made it where it claps down. We shipped it down there on Lowboy.
Right.
Unloaded it in Laredo, Texas. I get in that truck, and he shipped a Tahoe too. And then he followed me with that. We drove through. He had a chauffeur because we were bringing guns in and all of our equipment to stay. Right. And
this is in Mexico?
Well, that's Laredo, Texas. We haven't made it into Mexico yet. So we get to Mexico, and we have the chauffeur guy. He's doing all the talking. This guy works. He's got Mexican workforce, so he has a little bit of Spanish.
Right.
I have none. So I'm like, but yeah, we get there, and they're like, they're looking now. They're starting to look the truck over, and like I said, they're talking. And the one guy looks up, and he climbs up the ladder. And he looks up there. He's like,
"The fuck is this?"
Yeah, he gives it like this, and the guy down below is like, "What?" And he runs up the ladder,
right?
And he goes back down, and the chauffeur guy's standing there. He's like, they're talking back and forth, and he says, "You drive it from the top, drive it from the bottom, drive it from the top." And they're like, "Oh man!" So the whole time we're worried about what we're bringing in because you got to pay a tariff.
Right.
So he bought this brand new freezer, and he beat the heck out of it. So if it's used,
gotcha.
It's not a big deal. So he beats the heck out of a brand new freezer, and you had to be careful what you brought in and all this stuff. And
we used to do that. Speaking of beating on the freezer, when I worked at the boat factory, like if we dented something, then it went back to an area of the factory where the employees could buy it for like 40% or something. I don't know how many bosses or other coworkers would come to me and be like, "Hey, you think you get me a fridge or this and that?" I'd be like, "Yeah, man, I'll get you. How many you want?"
Yeah. Slide along something,
I'd
drop something into it.
Oops, I need another fridge. Ship that back. Not to get so far off topic, but that just reminded me. I worked at Circuit City one time when it was out here by the airport, the big warehouse, and they would make me walk from like a fucking half a mile back to the back corner. I had just got off meth. It's like my first job, one of my first jobs. I'm coming out of it, and I would get the stuff that people would return to Circuit City, and I would test it, and then I would list it on a site like eBay for Circuit City. I didn't make it in that position like 2 weeks. I was it was all like car audio shit, and I'd listen to it, I'd check it out, and then I would like because they knew to check the employees, but I would put like certain keywords in the listing, and I'd say it wouldn't work, and then I'd go home and buy that shit. Dude, they were on me within like 2 weeks. I remember it pulled
they knew the scam.
Dude, I didn't make it. I got like the best job there. I went right in and started fucking up. I was like, oh yeah, I seen right away. And I remember they pulled me to the side. They're like, yeah, you can't work here no more. You're banned. And I was like, damn it. I went home and bought the rest of the shit that I had on there.
Then you hurry up,
My car had a system. I had like 4 or 5 buddies with systems in their cars.
Heck yeah.
Sorry, Circuit City. Might be why they went down.
Yeah. That was the final straw.
Yeah, that was probably their fucking last
Sent them
straw.
over.
There I am. Click. Bad.
Oh, man.
So all this leads to, you build this truck for the guy. COVID hits. He's going to Tennessee.
Well, I mean, there's even some time between there and that time. But anyway, all these people saw me build this truck, my buddies and all that. So they knew what I was capable of building, you know. So when it did come down to needing work, I'm like, I call my buddies. I'm like, look, I need some money. You know, do you need them float pods on the back of your boat?
Man, those things are awesome. If you got a boat and you need trim tabs or float pods,
yeah.
Call Flat Tail Metalworks. They do a shit ton of them. Every time I'm in your shop, you got like 5 or 6 boats putting them on there.
Yeah. So that's how I got so popular in the area, really, is no one welds aluminum.
Right.
And I'm the guy that, I want to see why, you know.
I'm going to bring you like 2 cans and see if you can weld them together.
I've thought about messing with it.
Yeah.
But
solder it together and tell me it's welded. I'll pay for it. Whatever.
You pay my time.
Yeah, just run solder out. You'll be all right.
Yeah. But yeah, so COVID, you know, end up, we're now, you know, if going to there, need money. You know,
right.
the service
it's expensive to raise a family and keep a household.
Yeah, going from the wages that I was making, you know, I mean, it was good money.
Right.
Good money working for this guy. And all my buddies see the stuff I'm building. I'm like, look, I gotta make ends meet. So like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll have you put, you know, pods in my boat. You know.
So is it a special welder to weld aluminum?
Yeah.
It's not you can't just use your flux cord welder.
No, it's a spool gun setup, which, oh my gosh. I remember when I bought this setup to hook to my welder, you know, it was like $500. And she's like, we don't need to spend that money here. You gotta, you know, that thing better make money. I'm like, well, I can weld stuff now. So, you know, aluminum, I never could. And I mess with it and I can do it.
That's how my wife is. I've got to come up. She's like, you want a Ducati? And I'm like, listen, fuel is so expensive.
Yeah.
Imagine if I rode the motorcycle to work. I got to come up with a way that it's saving us money or it's making us money.
Yeah.
If it's just for my pleasure, good luck.
Yeah.
It better be a fucking leap year or something.
Yeah.
There's a man who has a Mountain Dew jet boat with a roll cage built by.
Well, every 4 years, a dog gets his bone. I'd skipped quite a few, so I figured I'd get all my bones at once.
Yeah. But, so I'm starting to tell all these people, I'm like, hey, I need money, man. You know, who do you know? So I'm putting pods on boats. I'm building duck blinds, and man, we're getting busy. Like we're making ends meet, and we get to where like.
Were you working out of your home?
Yeah, I had a 30 by 40 pole barn in the back that we're just like piddling with, and I did some pods for people here and there, you know, because they're like, well, man, can you fix this? You know, duck season's hard on boats, so they'll rip a hole in a boat or whatever. Yeah, I'll fix that.
Right.
Well, then, I'm building front decks and boats, and I'm building duck blinds, and it's like we need to figure out what we're going to do here. Like we're just trying to make ends meet. Now we're so busy.
What I like
we
about
need a name.
What I like about this is you were doing it because it was something you enjoyed doing.
Oh,
you learned to weld. You were doing it just on the side. Your friends knew you liked to do it, and then you ended up turning that into your business. Yeah, which is probably why you're so happy now that you're doing something you enjoy doing. You know, he enjoyed welding. He was doing it for his buddies, and it turned into now he's making money off of it. And it just makes it so much easier to succeed when you enjoy doing what you're after. So if you're looking to start a business and you're like, well, maybe I'll be a tow man. Well, if you haven't already been hanging out with the tow guys, riding in the tow truck, and you've seen it firsthand, don't do it. It's got to be something that you've been around that you enjoy doing.
If you're going to be your own business, for sure. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, we get so busy, and I start teasing the wife. I'm like, we need a beaver. We need a beaver with like a torch or something. She's like, that's corny. I'm like, no. Because remember when I worked for the other guy, I told him, I said, I'll build you damn near anything you want. So then it was kind of our catch. I'll build damn near anything. Well, then we had the beaver. Beaver builds dams. Right. We put it together, and like, it's kind of cool, you know. So we get a logo made.
All right. 1970. What's the dirtiest thing that was allowed to be said on TV?
Was it damn or bitch or
No, it was Wally. You were a little hard on the beaver last night.
very controversial.
Yes.
Back then it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's like, well,
Wally was a little too hard on the beaver.
yeah. But
So you were in your own shop at your house. When I met you, you were already in your new shop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You took that.
we outgrew it. We weren't productive because I had, 30 by 40 pole barn. Well, I already had all my own stuff in there.
Right.
So you had just enough room to get we were doing a lot of boats. You had just enough room to put a boat. And it was kind of a pain to back in the driveway, and you pretty well had to back in. And if it was raining, you're in the yard and you're having to hook to if you couldn't push the boat, you had to hook to a truck, and it was just.
You made a good leap with where you're headed right
shoot. 30 by 40 pole barn. With a 50 by 100 pole shop with a.
It doesn't have all your
office.
Personal shit in it because
Yes.
it's,
Yeah, it looks
up
cleaner now.
for sure.
And I can get away. Like the disconnect, when it's at your house, that's how you get started. There's a low overhead, basically, because, the power's coming out of the house, so you don't have that extra bill and everything else. But I got to where we gotta make next step.
Right.
It was scary. I mean, for real, and then the building, dude, didn't have the power, the panels hanging off the wall. It was a disaster. I'm like, I don't know. We got this, we've been doing so good. We got money in savings.
Right.
Like, I'm like, this is all right. We're doing good. We got a cool name. We've built all these cool projects, let's do it.
Right.
So we pulled the trigger. We were renting the building. So it's good, but I need to probably make the step. But now I can I think I had 6 boats in there the other day. And then
Last time I was there, you had a damn duck blind that was massive. How long was that thing?
32 foot long,
It was
8
huge.
foot around,
Yes. Covered in fiberglass.
covered in, oh,
I seen that when I got there. I seen a bunch of broken pieces of fiberglass on the ground, and I thought, that don't look fun.
no. And it was one of them projects. That's where I shouldn't please everyone,
Right.
but
That's a big one.
I can do that.
Right.
Why can't I? If someone else can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And that hurts me sometimes because of all the other projects that come in.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, duck season's coming. We need this. We need to get it in the ground. So it's like, crap. So some of the stuff you have to.
Just getting overloaded.
Oh, yeah. And then it's just me.
Right.
So I'm lifting quarter inch sheets of steel up on the thing, welding them up, welding the ends in,
If you get so
fabricating and
busy,
designing.
you got really busy last summer. I mean, every time I'd come in your shop, there was people. I mean, there's people coming in while I'm in there, just still dropping stuff off constantly. I remember when I got into the operators, they had gotten probably like 4 or 5 guys because Olmsted Lock and Dam project was going, and there was shit tons of welding going on, and they had went to Logan, and they had a welding program. They picked up like 4 or 5 of those guys out of that program.
Yeah.
But it's
I've had a
an
few
apprentice. I know, it's just so hard. You get somebody and then they want to talk, which is cool. Like I know whenever I get a new employer, I'm around somebody, they want to tell me all their life story. Listen, I just want to talk about me. I don't give a shit, buddy. I mean, I don't care that your dog died. Just sit there and listen to me tell stories and be happy. But you got to go through that whole process of getting to know them. And then halfway through the day, for me, it's towards the end of the day, they start talking about, they'll drop drug use or something. I'm like, well, I don't want you around me, man. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
It's like they try to fill you out. They've always got some issue that's underlining that they're trying to solve. And I'm like, I'll work you, but don't tell me about your drug problem and expect me to pay your light bill because you couldn't, not go without. I don't know. I had one guy that made it 2 days, and I knew he was going to, I thought he was going to do good. He came, he was going to be a ground guy. He interviewed with me, seemed legit. I mean, in my head, I thought he would show up ready for work, and he showed up in shorts, a wife beater, and tennis shoes. And we're on a construction site, you know. I'm
That ain't
like,
happening.
what the hell, man? This is day one. You didn't think to wear boots. And that was the only day he worked. I remember he was just horrible. I mean, there's so many people out there that'll tell you that they're hard workers, and then when it comes down to it,
Oh yeah, I can do this. I can do that. I get it. Sometimes you gotta get the job, and you fake it till you make it.
right?
But man, fake it harder.
I've done, yeah. You gotta fake better than that.
Show up.
We've taken on projects before. Wintertime, you know, especially with excavating in the wintertime, some years can be brutal. So, not that we fake it till we make it, but we had a customer one time call and his basement was falling in. It was cracking in the center block will pretty much
Push
the center
out.
start falling in. And the whole problem was a magnolia tree on the side of his house. When I took this tree down, the roots of this magnolia tree went all the way around the house. I'd never seen a root that far away from the canopy. Usually it's what I go off of is like 150% of the canopy is the root system. So if you look up at a tree, just imagine roots are going out 50% more. Anyways, the magnolia tree had wrapped around the house and was just basically like squeezing it. So I tell the guy, no, we don't really do that type of work. But it did kind of fall into the dirt work that we were having to do there. And he comes up with this plan off of, I don't know what website, like Home Advisor type shit. And it's like these steel beams and every 4 foot in his basement. And it was winter time. I mean, you know, it was right before Christmas because it turned out to be a big job. I remember it being like another job, and for whatever reason at this time I didn't have the customer put no money down. It was a farmer, and I didn't realize he was an interesting customer, but I didn't realize how interesting. So I didn't have him put no money down because when we were talking, he just made a comment like, oh, I'm sure you can cover it, and it was a good job. Wintertime, I'm like, fuck it, I'll cover it. There was a lot of cost in it. Halfway through the job, his like demeanor changed. He had signed a contract, and like he freaked out on my brother because the concrete truck was pulling in and he had it surveyed, the property. And my brother painted an orange marker on it, pulled the stake, concrete truck backed in, he put the stake right back in the same hole, and he like freaked out on him. He's like, you can't, that's a federal offense to touch a property marker. And my brother's like, I'm working for you, bro. He's
A
like,
wood stake?
yeah, just a wooden lath. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm working for you. And the guy actually owned both properties. I'm like,
Come on.
anyway, so I start getting worried. We finished this job. It was like a 3-week project. And I remember I had to go meet with him and his dad, and they like nitpicked every single detail down to like, how much will you guarantee? I'm like, oh, listen, buddy, you presented this to me. We did this. Give me my damn money.
Yeah.
And that was one of the only, because while I was there, he kept adding stuff. Can you come dig this water line over here? And I'm like, well, that would be a change order because it's not what we've discussed. And he would just be real put out by it. And I'm like, it just makes sense. I can't stop the project I bid to come to another project for free. But what I was getting at there was I was faking it. I wasn't really faking it. It worked. And that's been 5 years ago. And you know, the guy's house is still fine. But so we took on a project or two that we hadn't done before that was completely out of our realm. We made it work. Just put our own twist on it.
Sometimes when you're starting out, though, you got to take those jobs.
Yeah.
You got to take them jobs and make ends meet. And you don't know. I mean,
I just told somebody today, I was talking to him, and I have a pond job. This is another contractor. I have a pond job to look at in Elizabethtown this weekend. And I was going to, you know, it's pretty close person to me, and I was going to sub it to them because I'm just completely booked up. And I was talking to him, and he's like, well, do you think I should go look at it or just kind of call and talk to him on the phone and give him a ballpark before I drive down there? And I was like, just in my opinion, this time of the year with excavating, bid, get jobs. So that way when the sun's shining, you're not having to work all day, go bid jobs, you know. For us, we would always hit it hard in the spring when the weather's bad. I would book out for like 6 months, and then over that 6 months, I would have time to bid the next 6 months. But that was my advice, was I'd go look at it. I don't know how many jobs I've went to that were in my mind going to be a $2,000 job when I talked to them on the phone, and I got there and talked to them in person, and they're like, I'd really like a pond right down here too. While you're here, do you do that? And I'm like, yeah. And I can turn, or have turned, a $2,000 job into a $40,000 job just by being there, letting them see me. Because I feel like if you're just calling them on the phone,
It's not
I'd
personal.
I'd lose interest and be like, let me find somebody that's going to come out. So that was my advice. And he's going to go down there. He was just thinking it's a long way, but I mean, we went to do yard jobs in Missouri one time, and I just told the customer, they called, and I'm like, buddy, you're 2 hours away. Well, we've seen your work on Facebook. We really want you to do it. I'm like, well, we'd have to get a hotel. And the only hotel is the casino in town. So
we're picking places.
yeah, so we're gonna have to have a hotel, and I'm gonna pay my guys extra to go out of town. But we went and done a 1-day job, and it was what I would have charged here for 3 or 4 days. So we stayed at the hotel. We went to the casino. We actually had more than one job there. We had that, and then we got another job. And I kept getting people. So I done like 2 jobs, and I scheduled them back to back. And then while I'm over there, people start calling me from that area. I don't know.
See the stickers on the tractor, trucks.
The tractors, the trucks, and I don't know if my phone was doing something about putting my ads in their area. But then I'm come back 2 hours, and I keep getting calls from this area, and I'm like, listen, I appreciate it, but you'll save money. Just look around in your area.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ventured out. When people call me and they'll say, how far do you go? I always say, I can be in California in 2 days. I mean, it just depends on how much you're paying and what kind of job you got.
Yeah. If you're willing to ship everything or rent everything or whatever it takes. Yeah.
Right. If you're into whatever it takes, and I'm into it too. Let's do it. I'll fly out on a helicopter if you want me to.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you. You've done great things for us. I mean, we had you put the roll cage on the jet boat. You fixed brush cutters, just different implements we brought you. The aerators. Yeah, we bring you those aluminum aerators from the fish farm. And you've always gotten right on it, and done good work. And usually every time we bring you something, like I brought you that Chinese brush cutter, and I got it back, and it was an American-made brush cutter. You beefed it up. Yeah. So, and it hasn't broke since. So.
Have you used it since?
Yeah.
I fixed it last time?
Yep.
I was wondering if it vibrated or anything. It's all good, huh?
No, it's all good.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what sometimes you build stuff or fix stuff, and it goes out, and you're like,
especially something like that. You're like, be balanced. Or...
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything makes sense when you do it, and you're like, well, I haven't heard anything. I guess it's fine. You don't want to be like, hey, how's that going? And be like, well, really, I could bring it back, and then I'm bad about, well, if I messed it up, I'm fixing it. I'm not going to charge you to fix.
Right.
So.
You done a good job on everything we've done. The jet boat, we love it. We love the cage. And guys, the cage is basically for the Asian carp. Everybody's like, why would you have a roll cage on a boat? Well, when you get hit by an Asian carp going 30 mile an hour in the head, my poor wife, I think it was like the first or second time we took it out, we're just cruising along, and one of these fish jump up, and it's like 2 foot long. This thing's like this big around.
The head is nothing but bone.
And hit her right in the head. It gave her whiplash. When she got home that night, she's like, my jaw is hurting so bad, but she got hit in the head. And we're like, what? So she Googles the symptoms and popped up whiplash, makes her jaw hurt. She's like, fuck. So that's why we brought it to you for that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the R&D, the research and development when we took it out with the low river.
Yeah, we took, so I buy this jet boat, and I call Robert, and I tell him I need a cage, and he's like, why would you need a cage on a boat? And I'm like, well, besides the fish, it's also fucking terrifying too. I mean, it just kind of would make me feel better. So he's like, I just can't imagine it. And I'm like, let's go out on the boat. Let me take you out on the boat, and then you'll have an understanding of these fish that are jumping out of the water and the situation we're in. So I pick him up. we go out to the Big Muddy River, and it's really low. And we took off, and we went towards the Mississippi, and we hit like just a wall of shit we couldn't get through.
Well, we jumped the log. You're like,
We did jump the log. Yes. And then we went down further and realized it was shallow as shit. I mean, we were running in like 2 inches or 4 inches of water. It was about 3 because I stood and the water wasn't going over the top of my toes on my boot.
Yeah, like, I got a picture of that. That was good. Yeah, so, brand new boots on. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess these are ruined.
So we turn and we go, because I see that we're not going to make it towards the Mississippi. We go the other way. We come up, and the river's all flat, and there's just like one stream across the side, and it's all rock. And I'm like, fuck it, let's try it. So we take off, and we're running in just a few inches of water. We're
bouncing
going
off
up,
logs the whole way.
We're going like 100 yards up this little tiny stream, and all of a sudden there's this big wall of trees that we can't jump. And I was able to do a donut and get it turned around, but I lost plane. So once I dropped off the plane, that jet boat sat on the fucking bottom. And it suctions up underneath. So I'm like, oh, no big deal. We'll just hop out and we'll fucking slide it over there. Holy shit. We both threw out our backs.
We pushed it so far.
I laid there. I thought about calling and getting the skid steer dropped off at the river and driving it down the river to come get that boat because it was so heavy. It's got a 240 horse Mercury engine in it, inboard. So we would each be on the back of the engine. We'd have to pick up on that. We could drag it like 6 inches. And we did this for 100 yards.
Or better.
Better.
And then we think, we got it. We got it this time.
Yeah.
Start it up. We jump in there like, it's deep enough.
Yeah. It just
like,
suck up on shit. Sit down. We'd be like, oh. So we finally.
I'm like, what did I get myself into here?
We hadn't been out like 20 minutes and we're stuck. We're spent 3 hours fucking moving this thing 6 inches at a time. I literally had to go to the chiropractor for like 6 months after that.
So it was good that we went because the whole time you're like, I want a cage on it like a side-by-side, you know, with the tubes tight next to it. We're climbing in and out, you know, we're like, push it. We're like, all right, it's deep enough. And we climb in. I'm like, dude, I think it would be tight getting in and out of this thing with that. So that's why we built the doors, the removable doors on top.
I lost my wedding ring that day.
That's right.
While we were going.
That's right.
We're
You're like,
there.
Dude.
I looked down, and it was like engraved, you know. My wife got it engraved special. I looked down, the ring's not on my finger. And any guy knows that when you lose your wedding ring, you've got at least a week, maybe 2, of hell. Because your wife's going to be like, why was it off? Why would you take your wedding ring off? Where were we at? Like,
you dug for a while. You dug her out. I was like,
I looked for it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. I searched, but it fell right in the water, and I could not find it.
That current, I'm sure.
Yeah, it carried it. Especially, well, I don't know, gold sinks.
Start panning it.
Yeah, I could go out there and pan. I know where it was too. I know where my vape I threw out the window was, and I know where my gold wedding ring is. So if times ever get hard, I'm going for the vape first. Then I'm going to go find that ring while I'm using the vape, and I'm going to go pawn that ring for some money.
Or save it for the next time that we get stuck.
Oh, I thought you meant next marriage. I was like,
no.
I don't know.
No, you don't need to use
It was
those.
special engraved. I don't know how to explain that one. No.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
We'll put your links up to your page.
Yeah.
You do anything metal. He's blown up in Carterville. Everybody I know who is doing anything with welding, they're going to Robert. Even my buddy Chad that was on.
Yeah.
You're building his stairs of his house.
That's going to be a project.
Are they done yet?
No, he keeps telling me to hold off. I'm like, I really want to get started. He's like, oh, we got that. I'm
Come
like,
on, Chad. Get it together. Tighten up.
Don't push me back. And well, he come in the shop the other day. And he's like, yeah, whenever you get started. I'm like, well, there's the platform there. There's the legs. So there's the tube. He's like, oh, man, that's big. I'm like,
it's going to be big.
8x8 square tube.
Damn.
Oh, dude. It's a 20-foot stick, 575 pounds. And then we're adding the pieces for the steps onto that.
How are you going to get it mounted?
I don't know how we're going to get it in there. I've got ideas.
That's the joy of doing this shit. I just spit all over myself. That's the joy of doing this shit is that we'll do jobs and people will be like, well, the job we're doing now. The whole time I'm scratching my head. How in the hell am I going to do this? I'm looking at it. I'm thinking. I'll sleep on it. And then all of a sudden, like after a while, it'll hit me and I'm like, I got an idea,
Yeah.
you know, and you just try it and you do it till you get it figured out.
Yeah. I think we're going to have cherry pick. I mean, because it'll be finished drywall, so we can't run a chain hoist or
Right.
nothing. So I'm thinking I may get a cherry picker and a boom, and maybe even have to have a boom on it to lift it
Right.
up. I mean, I've called Chad. I'm like, hey, that hole's still on the floor. We need to put a
Is
bigger
the floor
beam
in
under
yet?
there. Huh?
Is the floor in yet? Like there ain't no floor.
No,
in yet.
we're going to go in before the floor.
Okay. That'd be good.
But then it's like, hey, just so you know, we're going to add some more walls. So there'll be more handrail.
We may need to call the Amish. They know
I'm going to
how
have
to do
to call
that
the
shit.
National Guard to get it in there.
It's
It's going to be so heavy.
We'll go to Ava or we'll go to Home Depot. We'll be able to find enough people to lift it up. But
Yeah, it's going to be a project. It's going to be awesome when it's done. And it's same deal. One of those things. Hey, can you do this? Well, yeah, I can. Should
Right.
I?
yeah, I mean, as long as everybody's making sure that you're well compensated, you're well worth it. Everything you've done for us has been top notch. The cage, everything looks perfect. Everybody gives us compliments. He built a cage on our boat. The roof, so when you get in, so you don't have to go under the roof folds up like bat wings. You just flip a lever, they fold up, you get in. The only thing he could have done better was flip them hinges around so they don't fall off whenever we're idling. But
So I had other ideas on it. And she stopped by. She's like, listen, I don't want a full roof because I want sun. If I'm going to be in the boat,
Right.
I want sun on me. I'm like,
that roof
She's
is
like-
perfect. The first time we had it out, and you wouldn't have known this in your shop, but when the boat's sitting in the water, it wants to lean back like this, kind of point up. And when I lifted the door, because the way the hinges are, I asked you to make it to where I could remove it.
Yeah.
Well, with it leaning this way and the boat's kind of vibrating, I lifted it up and
Oh,
the
no
thing
way.
fell on it. Hit me in the
Oh,
head. No, it was all good. It's a badass cage.
it's cool.
We'll,
I don't know how many times, like, I feel like I took too long doing it, but it was one of the things I built it in my head 100 times.
Right.
And then I would cut a piece of tube and I'd lean it on there.
Right.
And then I'd take it off.
Damn, what's this guy wanting me to do here? He's got
Yeah. And then you'd send me pictures and I'm like, well, that kind of changes the idea there too. And, so then it was like,
Right.
but I wanted it to be cool. I wanted it to be fast looking. And
I was, when we bought that boat, I was on a project and we were working like 12 hours a day. So I was just more focused on work at that time. So it wasn't a big rush.
yeah.
We took it from you. You done the seats, right?
Yeah. The
done the
platform
seat.
for the seats. Yeah. Mounted them.
We put those seats in. We put the roll cage, and then we took it to Wesley's Graphics in Marion, and they wrapped it with the Code Red Mountain Dew.
It's awesome looking.
I think it's awesome. I don't know. We took it out to the lake. I felt like everybody's looking at us, but we were also on like a little 14-foot boat jumping waves. That boat is strictly for the river. We didn't know that. It's a 4-seater, so I'm telling my wife, I'm like, let's take it out to the lake. I'm telling you, these waves weren't this damn high, and that boat just wants to jump them.
Really?
So like anywhere we would go, it won't just cut through the waves. I guess it's so light or so
yeah.
short.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was rough.
Rip.
It was rough out on the lake, but on the river where it's nice and flat, it's just a blast.
Yeah.
So we love it. But
yeah.
we appreciate having you on.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll put your links up where everybody can find you. And it's just a really great guy. He's a local business owner, and we're just glad that you're part of our town and
Yeah.
part of the services offered.
I'm glad it's going as good as it is. Yeah.
All right, Robert. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Till next time. All right, guys. We're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.